But yeah, they're starting on wait because with wait, you're able to stop the ATB while you're making your moves or making selections while in battle. So when you're in an item menu or attack menu, nothing's really going to move forward, and you have your turn and your chance to make your inputs. Both players renaming Chrono to a single letter. Saves a few frames over the course of the run. The longer the run, the more it saves, obviously. So I'm going to assume a lot of you guys have seen Chrono Trigger races, but at this point, we're pretty deep in the tournament. These two runners are pretty close on the leaderboards, and it's going to be pretty interesting. Like, they each run different categories, but their Magus times are pretty close to each other. Going into the tournament, Lunchtime was a number 10 seed, and Background Guy was a number 7 seed. So these are those races that we've all been waiting for, where we have relatively equal players. Oh, and we see a palette swap there too for Lunchtime. That's awesome. It's not actually faster, but it does the trick. All right, so first things first, we have to start building up a roster of characters. And this is the first one, and it's pretty important, first thing, that you pick up the pendant before talking to her. It might not seem like much, but later on it is going to it's going to matter. Save a little bit of time. So really all you have to do after getting Milo in your party is talk to one of these shops down here, and it will allow you to progress through. Lucas' device is all set up. And it's one of the first instances of using start plus B. It's not really something that you can see as a spectator, but it's something that does save quite a bit of time over the course of the run. In most menus in the game, if you hold the start button, all of your inputs are basically input every frame. There's no like buffer in between making all your movements. So if you hold start and the B button at the same time, you'll actually close the menu on the very first possible frame. And you can do that for store menus, to get out of your menu after sheltering, for example. And it helps a lot during fade-out glitches as well, which we'll see in probably about 10 minutes or so. So this particular category of the game, both these racers are going to be doing RNG manipulation. It kind of sounds scary, and if you want to develop your own scripts, there's certainly a lot that you need to learn. But from a very basic standpoint, as long as you do the same things in battle in the same order, with the same inputs, you should be fine. And really the ultimate end game when it comes to RNG manipulation is to reduce the amount of turns that it takes to finish a battle by reducing the amount of heals that it takes and not having the enemies attack someone that might cause them to go down. I can already guarantee, I think both these racers are going to be using slightly different strategies for the different fights coming up. I guess there's another thing that I didn't really point out, but at the beginning, both players deleted all of their save files before starting the run. and that ties into the RNG manipulation, because your starting seed is based on the time that you spend on the save file select screen. If you don't have any save files, the time you spent there was 0, and that just happens to be what your RNG starting seed is as well. Alright, so Background Guy is the first to touch after the portal. Only a couple seconds separate, really. So in this fight, we kind of hope to not get attacked at all, and we'll see lunchtime making the first input correctly. I think Background Guy is going for a slightly older strat here, where he gets attacked twice by the imps, but it sets up a very favorable crit string later on, whereas lunchtime is going to have to deal with less crits in the next fight. But as you can see, even though Background Guy was the first one to land after the portal, because he didn't get attacked, or because lunchtime didn't get attacked twice, he's slightly ahead now. And that's kind of the main power of RNG manipulation. Most of these fights you can make it through anyway, but eliminating the amount of turns that actually happen during the fight are going to turn into, 4 seconds here, 8 seconds here, and then you just start saving minutes over the course of a lot of fights. So just like most RPGs, there's a bit of a story development that needs to happen here. But unlike a lot of RNGs from this era, Chrono Trigger is a very interesting moving system. It's not really locked onto any kind of grid. There are some pretty interesting techs for moving around. You can make it around corners without losing any momentum based on how you brush up against them. The stairs in the tower climbing up towards where the princess is here. We used to think it saved time because on pretty much every other staircase in the game, if you hold a diagonal input, you're not going to grind on any of the walls and lose any momentum. But these staircases, the trigger for them is so soon that you can just hold left or right, and you'll make it through them as quickly as possible. Alright, so Luca's going to teach us a little bit about time travel. This is basically just the Cliff's Notes to Back to the Future. If you travel back in time and mess with your ancestors, you will disappear. But let's try and remember that as we progress through the story, because one person who was affected most is the biggest champion of actually changing the timeline again. Alright, so past princess gets kicked, present princess disappears. We have a rude little blue imp just, well, being rude. Alright, so here we'll see another slight divergence. Because lunchtime did not get attacked once in the first blue imp fight, he's going to be 2 crit values earlier. Whereas Background Guy is going to see crits earlier in the fight. Lunchtime's going to have to work for his a little bit later into it. Yeah. And if you see, even though Lunchtime saved time in that first fight. They about broke even in that second fight. And in this third fight, he's actually going to pull ahead a tiny bit more. These are all just very slight variations. You could hold X on all these fights perfectly fine. Lunchtime's doing what's called a overkill, or an RNG jump. And that's when you target the same enemy with both players, but it dies after the first one hits it. So it chooses a random target, and so it draws on the random number table, and it'll increment the values. Alright, so we're essentially tied here. Both these guys should have the exact same fight with the Nega-Ets. I think the only big difference here is that Background Guy should be getting a crit at the beginning of the fight and Lunchtime won't. The crit really doesn't matter, but Background Guy is going to lose a little bit of time because the crit animation is a little bit slower. But yeah, they both get the proper proof ups, and a Fire Whirl, which is the reason we fought those two earlier fights, is going to one-shot these guys. And taking out 3 of them is big. You don't want these guys to cast their slow spell. A, it makes you slow, and B, it's a long animation, so it's slow in multiple ways. Alright, so we get one of the cooler characters in the game. It's a giant talking frog with an even more giant sword. The mostest giantest of swords. And again, this is someone who we're going to want to name to a single letter. But you got to be careful. Renaming characters is very tricky to do quickly, and you can't have 2 players of the same name. So what happened there, Lunchtime already had someone named Jay, so he had to change from Jay to something else. And at that point, you're losing quite a bit of time on the rename, and you're kind of losing a bit of the bonus from it. So I think Lunchtime tried to pick up the revive, but just didn't get it. Background Guy does have a safety revive. Well, it doesn't really mean much until it means something. We'll just kind of have to wait and see whether that's going to do something. See, I think Lunchtime went for the fade out, and I think Background Guy just went in and picked up the power tab. This sync. Yeah, I gotta avoid these bats. Avoid more bats. And we're on to the last battle in this RNG string. So we're going to be using save and reload as part of some of the skips that we're going to use. And every time that you save and reload the game, you're basically resetting what your RNG seed is. And you can reload within certain windows, which will allow you to get back into your script. Alright, yep, I'm crit from Frog on both sides. Looks like Background Guy just pulls a little bit ahead out of the fight. It's a tiny bit of menuing, and it's really important to know which menus you have to be fast in, and which menus you're doing buffered during animations. Because once during animations you have a certain amount of time that you can input the thing without having any chance of loss, but there's other inputs when they're unbuffered that every second that you're slow on your input is a second lost. Alright, so this is the fade out glitch. Walking into a transition and opening, closing your menu, inching closer to something else. You can walk into a battle trigger, and it'll make the game think that the battle already happened to skip a fight. You can walk into text triggers. Okay, I'm not sure what happened to lunchtime there. Maybe he missed... Yeah, he must have missed the save anywhere. So here he's using the fade out to get onto a save point. And that'll allow you to keep the saving flag. Lunchtime having a bit of issue with this skip, it seems. Background guy is pulling nicely ahead now. Got a pretty big safety buffer. And unfortunately, lunchtime has to redo that menu every time as well. There he goes. Alright, so background guy is already through that skip. I didn't really get a chance to talk about it while it happened, but essentially all you need to do is start the boss battle with the boss off screen, and he just dies. The game thinks that the battle's over. Lunchtime is moving around in specific ways to try and cancel a bunch of text, just to make things go a little bit quicker. There we go. He's got the skip down. But he's surrendered probably about a 40-second lead to background guy, if not more. Yeah, I was actually chatting with lunchtime before this race, and he was saying he was a little bit nervous, but also a little bit excited. This is actually the first rematch of the tournament. Generally, you wouldn't see rematch in brackets until you get into the late stage of the elimination bracket, and well, that's where we find ourselves, and this is where we find ourselves. So these guys actually met in the round 2 of the winners bracket. So background guy is coming up on the reverse bird skip. He still has his save anywhere flag turned on from the skip he did before. So what he's going to do is he's going to save and reload here. And he's going to trick the game into thinking that he entered this screen from the opposite way, because the way that the battle triggers are set up, there's a different layout based on how you enter the room. And you just confuse the game, and you're able to sneak by that bird fight the same way that that you snuck past it the first way. That's kind of using what I like to... Where even though the trigger and the corner are kind of meeting each other, the way that the game pushes you around the corner, you actually squeeze by without stepping on the offending tile. Alright, so lunchtime heading on his way to reverse bird skip. And it looks like he was a little high there, but luckily you can just push against the back of that bird, and it lines you up perfectly to hit one of the few pixels that allows you to push around the trigger. Right, so this is still anyone's race. There's a lot that could happen as we go along. Background guy is quickly heading on his way back to Guardia Castle to start the trial cutscene. So if you remember earlier when I pointed out picking up the pendant before you talk to the princess, this trial is where that matters. We actually want to get guilty, so if you talk to her first before you pick up the pendant, it shows that you care and aren't interested in shiny things over people. And if you talk to her before picking up the pendant, one of the jurors will choose not guilty, and that's not what we want. Guilty is going to save us roughly about 8 seconds, 68 seconds there. Yeah, so these guys are about a minute apart heading into this section. But the next two splits here are pretty heavy on the RNG and the execution. So here at the trial, once the Chancellor finishes talking, we are defended by the almighty Pure Right. Lawyer extraordinaire, and he's going to try his darndest to get us not guilty. We do everything we can when the Chancellor asks us if it was our fault or her fault. Obviously, we blame her. Looks pretty bad in the eyes of the jury. And later on, when he asks us about if we're interested in her wealth, we're just going to straight up lie and say yes. We all know Chrono doesn't care, but we gotta save that time. Save those frames. Alright, so background guy is coming up on the randomness. Of these 7 jurors, only one of them is a random chance. And it looks like he got lucky. Juror number 2 decided to be guilty this run. This background guy's going to save that time, increase his potential lead. And what about ransom? Yeah. Totally interested in her money. Let's see if lunchtime is able to at least not hemorrhage any more time here. Ah, that's a not guilty. Okay, so we're about 1 minute and 8 seconds apart now. I feel for him. But there's 2 sections in the first half of the run that are very imperative for time loss to not get into any extra battles or encounters. And this is really one of the sections. The boss fight, as long as you're on the correct RNG window, the script will save you quite a bit of time on healing. In fact, you won't have to heal at all. And you can actually take down the head before taking down the rest of the dragon tank. And since it doesn't heal any of the body, it's just a much quicker fight. But 1 extra encounter, and that's going to throw off your manipulation to get that, and you'll have to tackle the fight in a much slower way. Probably lose about 20 seconds on the fight, minimum. And then there's a string of other fights post Dragon Tank where the RNG script is going to matter. And it's specifically for criticals, just to kill enemies quicker. But particular enemies, I don't know. I'm going to get ahead of myself. Let's focus on the prison right now. So we're looking for a 60 on the damage roll here. Between the 2 power tabs, the new sword, and the new accessory on Chrono, and a highest possible damage roll, he can one-shot this guy. Alright, so here's another long fade out for background guy. It would actually be quicker to fight this fight because we have 2 crits lined up for Chrono. But if we use the fade out to skip this fight, these 2 crits that are lined up are much better served at saving time on the Dragon Tank fight. So while we lose a tiny bit of time not fighting that fight, we're going to save time in the long run. Background guy getting trolled by this guard. Alright, so there's about 50 seconds apart between these two. Currently. Background guy edging in between those 2 shields, just making sure. Utilizing one more fade out, and here we go. After that first fight with the 60, we've made it through the entire prison without an extra fight. Now it's up to lunchtime to get past those guards. These guards' movement are completely random. That was scary. Okay, lunchtime getting a much luckier setup on these guards. So he's going to save a little bit of time for his background guy. All right, so this fight that background guy is in, the Dragon Tank, it's a pretty tight fight. As you can see, all these crits that Chrono's getting are pretty huge. 180 damage per attack. 186 here. But since we're not taking any turns to heal, our health's going to get a little bit low. As long as he makes all of his inputs, and there's one input at the very end where he has to make kind of quickly, he should be okay. So this should take down the head. Hold X on the body. And this is the tight input here. Easy. So lunchtime does have an opportunity to save a tiny bit of time over background guy. We're talking about 3 seconds or so. When background guy input his flame toss and cyclone, if he did it in the opposite order and did a bit of a mini trick, I'm not sure why he attacked Luca there. I think he was supposed to flame toss with Luca. This might not end up well. Go Luca, go Luca, go! Yeah, that's not a good sign. Where was his last save? Oh boy. Oh boy. So that's something that can happen. It's Dragon Tank is a very tight fight, and you need to pay attention because there is really no room for error. It looks like background guy has a very large lead now. So background guy is heading to the future, and he's going to have to make his way through Lab 16, which is one of the most fun sections for platforming. Looks like we can blame coffee. I'm not sure how coffee drinkers would feel about that. Alright, so background guy, he picked up the chest and then had the rat steal from him. And as long as the text box from the rat stealing from you is open, you're able to move over battle triggers as if they didn't exist. Well, all these battles are quite easily skippable. You save quite a bit of time. We're talking like probably about 8 seconds plus in that screen just based on running through the battle triggers instead of running around them. Alright, so background guy is gonna try to squeeze by these sick old future people, but they just want to talk. They're not used to seeing people of vibrant red hair and blonde hair. Everyone's so sick and covered in soot. So I don't think background guy swapped his controls at the beginning, so he's going to be swapping his controls here. So it's going to be doing a tiny bit of menuing. But just using the plain ordinary fade out glitch with one tiny little modification. If you press the X button in that particular room, it will cause an encounter. And you can actually just swap your menu button to something else. And by swapping your control to the A button is what he did there. You can still open up your menu, use the fade out glitch, and get past everything. Yes, yeah, I forgot background guy did this. So the rat actually runs a tiny bit faster before you catch him versus after you catch him. So you can save a tiny bit of time catching him a little bit later. It is a little dangerous though. If you miss the rat, then you're going to have to go back through the room and catch him again. And catching him in the opposite direction, it's normally almost all the way back to the other way before you can catch him. Pretty important fade out on background guy's side. This just skips a cutscene, but it's about 1.5 minutes a cutscene that you're skipping. And it will just automatically draw you into the cutscene if you run up into the room. So it's always good to pay attention during that one part. Yeah, 10 minutes sounds about right. So on the way out, it's basically the same thing. Trying to avoid any of these robots, buggers, and other little insect-type enemies. I suspect we'll see a save here from lunchtime. Yep. It's one of the hardest things to keep in mind when you're speedrunning this game, especially in a race situation. Taking the time out to save is a pretty big chunk of time if you're going for a PB in a speedrun. But in a race, the time loss versus the potential time loss. I'd say it's a fair compromise. But at the same time, if you're racing against someone that you think you need every edge, I don't know, it's up to every racer. It's certainly not my place to tell these racers how to race. So background guy is coming up on Johnny. The Johnny race is relatively straightforward. As long as you beat him, you don't lose a minute. If you lose the Johnny race, well... Lunchtime with the scary trigger there again. Oh... Add insult to injury. So it looks like Lunchtime's gonna have to take the slow dragon tank fight now. Background guy doing a great job bouncing on the front of Johnny. Bounce, bounce, bounce. And he's made it through. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another save here from Lunchtime. Or not. I believe. Let's go. Let's do this. So since everything went peachy keen for background guy, he's got 2 crits on the Berserk melee here. And a crit will one-shot these buggers. So without the crits, it's actually very difficult to take down the head. So what we're going to see is some Fire Whirl, which will kill the wheel and the body. And then we'll take down the head. So now that the wheel and body are dead, we can just go to town on the head. The wheel and the body dead, the head can't really do too much more damage. Still has its fire breath attack, but that's about it. And background guy recruits probably my favorite character in the game, second only to the best character in the game. Robo might be a little slow in vanilla, but he's the only player character that you get that has access to attack all enemies magic from the get-go. All the other characters have to earn that much later down their tech tree. Lunchtime is through. Alright, so Background Guy is coming up on one of the biggest points of RNG in the entire run. Yeah, so the 5 slime fight right here. The order and type of slimes are based on the frame that you enter the room. So it's essentially unmanipulatable, except for the fact that it is, but it generally loses time if you try and manipulate it. Not the cleanest pattern here. Problem with this fight is if you attack a green slime and it's next to one of the orange slimes, it'll do a counterattack, which is not only bad, but slow. That should be far enough away. There shouldn't be a risk of counterattack there. And if one of them dies, there's also no chance of a counterattack. Lunchtime got stolen from when he didn't want to be, but luckily money doesn't matter too much in this run. This last slime refusing to die, I'm sure that 6 was 5 damage more than needed to kill that guy. Sometimes the damage rolls on these slimes are just ridiculous. You need a couple more levels in order to get them up to a reasonable level. All right. I think we figured that out. All right. Go team go. We are now back onto the R series fight with Background Guy audio. And we are trying to position ourselves in such a way that there's no extra movement for the second part of this cutscene. And this fight is relatively simple on the surface. You're going to cyclone the front row, do 2 cyclones on the back row, and one more cyclone on the front row, and take them all down. But these guys are fast. We're playing on battle speed 1. There's a lot of things that that can go a little slow, especially if the back row gets more than 1 round of attacks. Alright, so this first cyclone is the most important. That was nice and quick. The other thing you really have to watch out for is you can't just mash your attacks on default target. If that happens, you're only going to hit 2 of the 3 in any of the rows, or the columns, I guess. As long as Chrono can get this next cyclone off. So Background Guy is doing a bit of a safety, doing an attack in the flame toss on the front row, which makes sense instead of healing. That way, Luca has her memory cursor set to flame toss, which is very useful. And now he can mash this last cyclone without having to fumble any kind of targeting. And yeah, he's through that fight, easy peasy. So Lunchtime has completed his Guardian skip, and he's going to be on his way to the Johnny race here pretty soon. Next up is one of the hardest bosses in the game. Specchio is going to have us running around his room, and he's pretty particular about the way that we do that. Just got to make sure that we hit all the corners. And then he's going to try and fight us, and we have to skip that encounter. It's a really difficult set of inputs to do, so we'll see how Background Guy handles it. All right, Lunchtime going on to this. All right, so here he goes. This is the Specchio room. This is the most important section. You gotta mash through a little bit of text here, but then you have to be very careful. He's gonna ask you to run around the room 3 times, and if you don't think magic the entire time, then he's gonna make you do it again. Alright, that's once around the room. It's twice. And the 3rd time, did he do it right? Did he do it right? Alright, it looks good. It looks good. Alright, so he decided not to fight Specchio02. That's a second option. That is input perfect. If you don't make the input, then you'll fight him. Alright, so Background Guy is coming up on a pretty cool skip here. Oh, I guess not. There's something called Cake and Dash. We'll try and point it out on Lunchtime screen when he's going through, where you can talk to the cake, eat it, and then you can swap your party members really quickly to regain control, and you can skip the text that the blue imp has for you. So we're gonna see a speed tab and a magic tab for Background Guy. These are gonna be useful. I think lunchtime might be grabbing slightly different tabs, but in the end, they're all gonna go on the same people. Good day, good day. I think we are finally joined by Honk. How are you, my friend?
Hello, I'm doing great. I'm super sorry for being late. I'm sure DD here did a great job commentating without me. So how's everyone doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I think
Right.
chat enjoying themselves.
Alright. How's this race going so far?
I think Lunchtime's probably the only one who's sweating it a little bit. He ended up dying to Dragon Tank, and his save was after first bird skip, so he's 10 minutes behind here. But we're still pre-Masamune.
Yeah.
That's the point in the run where a lot of runners have been having issues this tournament.
It seemed almost cursed this tournament, the amount of trolls and other mistakes that happened during Masamune. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
I really like the menu on lunchtime screen. That's lovely.
Yeah, I'm one for swapping to a different kind of backdrop. It obviously loses time, but for a race, it's pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
Another use of the fade out on Background Guy's side, skipping the rolly fight. It's not necessarily that big of a time save, except for the fact that that fight takes quite a long time to get set up. The rollies will roll into the room and take a while to get in position.
Got the heck run skip coming up on Background Guy's side. Looks like he's going to go for the safe setup, just positioning himself in the corner. Reloading. And gets it first try. Nice.
That looks perfect. Yeah, the different setups, the one that he's doing there, it gives you 3 frames to get the menu open and save, whereas the other setup gives you 2 frames.
Also, I think the kind of downside with this setup is if you don't do the reload, if you just eyeball it without the reload, you are not guaranteed to even get the window to get it. It's like a 50-50 chance, I think.
It's kind of the same thing as Mario 1 bus stops or frame rules. The triggers for the battles will only take you into that every so many frames. And if you're able to get far enough past them and save and reload, the game kind of snaps you to a grid when you save and reload, so as long as you're far enough that you can be past the trigger when the game brings you back in, then that's so tempting on lunchtime screen.
I was thinking if you would go for that. Yeah. Not getting the greatest damage rolls there either. A lot of ones on the reds, not killing that green with a rocket punch instantly. Always kind of annoying. And they're doing a great job of spreading apart nicely. Oh wow, yeah, this is really unlucky here for lunchtime.
Yeah, if he gets another counterattack, he's actually going to be in kind of danger territory.
Did he get the safety revive?
No.
Oh, alright. Oh yeah, going for...
He tried to pick it up, but it didn't quite work for him.
Alright.
Also steal right here.
That should clear at the greens. Yeah, one left. Reacting well with cure beams though, not getting into any danger of dying.
So Background Guy looks like the oh man, didn't quite get that bird skip. This is definitely one that doesn't really matter that much. He's going to be saving and reloading here before any other battles.
Yeah, it's definitely way less costly than the one right before Magus, where you kind of rely on having the right RNG, but at this point, since you have some boss skips coming up with saves and reloads, it really doesn't matter.
You can tell the frustration from lunchtime there. He was swapping his menus from top to bottom after that fight. You got a lot of counters. There was like 4 or 5 counters that fight.
Yeah, they really mixed it up. Which is usually something you want to avoid. So next text cancels by background guy.
So we're gonna be a little selfish. The chef gave us the jerky to give to the soldiers, but we're gonna take it for ourselves.
Did background guy fight Spakio?
Nope, he did not. He went
Where?
to the Elder House to grab the
right.
there.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's something that you notice with runners of this game. Since the routing is very particular and like oftentimes picking up items somewhere or another will actually throw you off. With minor changes to the route through time, you'll see runners just kind of sticking with what they know sometimes. Because, for example, if you like do a skip on a fight and then all of a sudden someone's 1 level less and there's a completely different script or something different in a fight down the line, I don't know. The routing in this game is very tight and very optimized.
Alright, we got Captain Skip coming up for background guy. Looks like he got nice past the first guard. So that's the first try. I'm gonna say Zombor skips slightly easier with the one. Yeah, and he also gets that first try. Really nicely done.
Yeah, you need to not hold the run button for about, 6-7 frames. And it takes a while to get the timing for it, but once you get the timing, it's very, very repeatable and very consistent.
Yeah. And background guy can do a safe early shot menu here.
Yeah, I think he might even be going for antibode strats on the boss.
Yeah, I think you'll have to go over that. Not familiar with those.
Yeah, there's not going to be Berserk, and we're going to use Slash to knock Messamine out of his counter phase. The only big time loss about doing your menu early and late is with this particular strategy, you have to unequip Marley, whereas if you use the Fire Punch strat, you never really use Marley for this run, so you'd never have to unequip her. So that's a whole extra shot menu. And then there's obviously the differences in the fight, but apart from that...
That RC's fight.
Lunchtime is not having the best of luck here.
Yeah, putting in the flame toss. There. Yeah, no revive here. That's unfortunately a reset. Oh no.
Oh jeez.
That is a bummer.
That's the double whammy, I'd say.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I can... That's... Yeah, that has to be super frustrating.
Yeah, I do definitely have to point out that this game is not an easy game.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that all of these racers are racing it for you. This game is run friendly because you can easily reset, just do another run and keep on going. But race friendly, a lot of the mistakes here with the optimized route are going to end up coming to bite you in the butt pretty hard. Just a few little top-ups there for Background Guy, just to be sure. Don't get me wrong, this game is very rewarding to run.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it just really goes to show, like, someone as experienced like lunchtime, just like stuff like this just happens to the best. Just one small mistake and it's like over.
Alright, so yeah, we're seeing the sleep strats on the twins. If one of them is asleep, then the other will never counter. The left one will never counter anyway. But this is a good way to just kind of get through the first section without really getting attacked at all. And that should do it, yeah.
This anti-post fight still follow a specific RNG script, or is it just kind of like?
Yeah, it's very similar. It even has a slight branch to it. But the branch you can actually tell by looking at damage rolls instead of like ATB positions. Yeah, there should be, I think it's 2 crits at the beginning for Chrono. But we're not quite able to do enough damage here to skip him going into his counter phase at the beginning. Looks like Lunchtime's going for that early load sword. Yeah, again, this fight's relatively safe. Even if things go wrong, all you have to do is heal.
Oh, there you go. Countering Magus. Oh, alright, I see.
And I think it's this attack. It's been a while since I've done the script, but depending on if this counter only hits Marley, or if it hits Marley and Chrono, will make all the difference in the fight.
Oh yeah, but the early on equip definitely doing its job there.
Yeah. Yeah, Chrono getting a boost to the slash is almost the same level as the Berserker. Yeah, before the Berserk Masamune strategy, this fight, even if it went wrong, you could always kind of put your way through with just a couple heals, revives.
I heard it's not even that much slower than the Berserk strat, right? Like only like 6 seconds?
The second half, yeah, it's not that much slower. It's really the first fight that you save a bunch of time. Because you're not doing the sleep and Chrono auto attacks.
Alright.
Right? Like it's 3 Chrono attacks, 1 robo crit, and 1 fire from Luca, and that's all it takes to kill him. Whereas in the other way, it's a sleep spell, which is really slow, 4 slashes, and an antipode.
Alright, yeah.
But yeah, overall, it's like 30 seconds difference. It's pretty big.
Well, yeah, considering what time you can lose on Masamune, and what has been lost on Masamune in this tournament already.
Yeah. Like, I don't mean to give away too many of my strategies for the race coming up, but I plan on doing a safety shot before Messamine, so if anything goes wrong, I can unequip.
Oh yeah, right, because we have another race coming up, Winners Finals, in about an hour. Background guy, almost forgetting the hero medal there.
That's like going to give the Messamine to Frog without forging the Messamine.
My personal favorite is probably wondering why you can't do Captain Skip and Zombor Skip without talking to the chef.
Alright, give me 2 seconds here.
Alright, we've got the other half of the Masamune now. Gonna go back to Melchior, who is gonna tell us that we need a charged Dreamstone in order to reforge it. And then we're gonna head all the way back to 65 billion BC and meet a new character that I think has some kind of mixed opinions in the community from what I got so far. I know there are some big Ayla fans and some big Ayla haters out there. There you go, Jerry.
Are we talking about the best character in the game?
We're talking about the objectively worst character in the game. I mean, I think we already introduced Marl, so it can't be the best character.
Yikes.
Hey man, it's all good.
So now we're gonna get some cake on Background Guy's side.
Did you not get that earlier?
He didn't do kick and dash.
Ah, right. Nice little fade out here on Background Guy's side. Making a safety save there, seeing that the save file is called Rare Red Rock, knows that he got it. Can also tell if the character slightly moved downwards as they talk to him, but if you do the fade out like very late, or you do the A press very late, you cannot always tell that, so that safety save is kind of nice.
Much time searching for that mythical dragon tank skip.
Is that a thing that would be like theoretically possible, or is that just like straight up impossible? Even in theory.
If you could get past the dragon tank, I guess maybe it would work. But I don't think... Like, I tried it before and I never was able to get anything to work.
That's a good first fight. The Background Guy. Second one, a little bit more finicky in my opinion. Gonna mash out the slash, which is the easy part, and then either get a flame toss out in time or another slash by Chrono before optimally it kills a Luca.
Yeah. Yeah, that attack's always going to Luca.
Yeah, and that one's actually kind of tight to hit, especially if you go for the Chrono slash, getting that directional and A input. But yeah, flame toss is safe. Lines up with the same RNG because the single tag, all single tags increase the RNG by the same amount. and it's only like
The windows,
marginally slower.
like you could mess up these two fights pretty badly, and you'd still be okay.
Renaming Ayla blank space.
Let's see. So, skipping the chest early and picking it up on the way out. It's pretty funny. We used to pick up that Berserker chest the first time through, but it kept on getting in this fight with the runners because it would kind of mess up the cycle a little bit to get past them. Then eventually we realized that we need to pick up the Berserker on the way out, and it just eliminates that problem altogether. Yeah, we got to get rid of the worst character here because she likes to dance.
Yeah. As good as Marl is, she is really, really slow in the upcoming party that we're gonna have with Ayla. Robo is just a lot faster to interact with. Gonna wait for Robo to stand up and sit down a few times, and then as soon as his eyes start blinking, can move over again. And then Ayla is gonna invite us to a soup contest to get the Dreamstone.
The mashing here is pretty lenient, and a little known fact, you only have to mash when the soup bowl is up. While it's down, you don't actually have to mash at all.
That is something I didn't know. Thank you. So I'm actually not sure, is this just a certain time interval in which you need to mash, or do you need to mash like a certain amount, or how does this exactly work?
Oh yeah, you just mash while the bowl is up, and you need to drink, I think it's 8
right.
bowls of soup, and you can win. I never bother counting, I mash.
Right.
I mash more than I should.
So gate key has been stolen. And now we need to take some revenge at the Reptites.
Lunchtime's just looking for that soft lock. Super important fade out on background guy's side. We really don't want to hear anything that Kino has to say.
Pretty big movement section here. A lot of encounters that are skipped here. Most of them are actually pretty easy to tell just by seeing like where these footprints end. The encounter tiles usually align with that pretty nicely. Some of them are a little more finicky to skip by just pushing along walls like that. But yeah, you really don't want to go into any extra encounters here.
Yeah, there's even a couple fights in here that are A, dangerous, and B, the game will pull you into the fight if you don't buffer your movement at all.
That 34 is the number we're looking for. So, background guy on the right RNG.
Yeah, means Ayla's gonna be hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, that missile fight is really not too bad, even if you're off RNG. But it's just like, it's really nice and clean if you got it on RNG. Getting all the attacks right with Ayla Berserk. It's really nice. gets that thunder off in that lightning off in time. If you're a little bit too slow, there's I think Luca dies there, but that's looking all right. Just one more kind of finicky encounter to dodge, and then background guy is pretty set up.
Yeah, this particular room here, if you don't buffer your movement right out of the door, you'll get drawn into an attack.
You don't actually have to buffer up left, but you really need to know how to move through the room, especially that first part, to not get caught immediately.
Yeah, we used to do the Mirage Hand and Power Glove menu here.
Surprised? I'm not sure about this setup, but isn't there like aren't you usually supposed to shelter here?
I don't think it matters if you ate the cake.
Oh right, yeah, right, because of the cake, because of the late cake, yeah, of course. Yeah. That's a completely different story, right? Yeah, yeah, okay, that's perfectly fine. The few lightning releases from this bill are not going to deal any damage. Got a Quake in, which means the script is going to be slightly slower. But there's like a branch for that, depending if you get the lightning in at the right time or not.
Yeah, that was the way that we actually lined up so that there wasn't any missed crits. I was waiting for his first attack. Going for the quick lightning into the fire was something relatively new. Red Slash did probably about 9 months ago.
Oh.
I guess there might have been a little bit more than that now.
And apparently lunchtime successfully soft-blocked. Good job. I think we can count that as an unofficial win, yeah.
There it is. Big Bad Nisbel is taking a long, cold nap.
And won't be seen again for the rest of this run.
Alright, lunchtime made his way out of that soft lock, it looks like.
Well, yeah. If you call resetting getting out of it. Nice little text skip there by background guy. Moving out of the store diagonally, skipping another text with Ayla and Kino.
Yeah, there's actually a couple different ways to skip that dialogue. You can run up and talk to Ayla really quickly, and then run down, and as long as that's open, it won't stop you from doing that.
Getting that Berserk, really important for Magus Castle. Gonna be very useful for a few of the fights.
Alright, now that we have the Dreamstone, it's time to repair the Masamune and show it off to the giant frog with the even more giant sword.
And the giant heart. Let's not forget about that.
That's right. And the giant whistle.
So we're doing a basement fade here, just to skip a part of this. Also important, swapping the characters here, just making this cutscene a little bit shorter. Funny enough, it swaps Robo back into your party automatically after this. Because the game kind of wants you to have Robo at this point.
It's stuff like that that kind of makes me think that they realized that this is something that could accidentally happen. Yeah, there's a bunch of animation there if Robo's in your party. It's just completely skipped. Alright. On our way to give the sword back to Frog, and then we get a little bit of a cutscene. Kind of looks like lunchtime's going for a lava shell skip breakaway.
Probably the most important bird skip coming up on BackgroundGuy stream.
Nailed
Getting
it.
Another shot at a new. No luck, fortunately.
Still none.
But yeah, we got basically two pretty big cutscenes back to back. One here in Frog's house, and then another one coming up very shortly at the entrance to the cave right before Magus Castle.
One is story time, and the other one is a legitimate cutscene.
Well, right. And unfortunately, you cannot take a break here, because you have to mesh through the text. Well, at least you can, like, take a drink with one hand, or, like, type something in chat.
Yeah, this is normally where, if I'm racing, I will open up my opponent's stream and just see how far along they are. Kind of interesting talking to certain racers. Some people like the idea of knowing where their opponent is, and some people don't like the idea because it either makes them nervous or it makes them play differently.
Yeah, I guess that's a mentality thing. Did we ever get the Marshmallow Glen emote on Frankenfacey?
I don't think we did.
Ah, that's unfortunate.
I don't think peeking is cheating. It's not a randomizer race. Like, imagine a NASCAR race where you're not allowed to see where the other cars are on the road.
I mean, that's slightly different, but certainly not wrong. Got one of the more intimidating cutscenes here. Magus just straight up lighting Cyrus on fire.
Yeah, he's gone.
NASCAR blindfolded. That sounds
That
fun.
sounds right up your alley, actually.
And yeah, right. I don't know. Certainly for the viewing experience, something.
Frog realizes that it might just be time to stop being sad and to start kicking butt.
Oh, and he will give a shot at that. Got next 2 boss fights coming up where that's going to be demonstrated pretty nicely.
Magus just burnt the wrong marshmallow.
Looks like we're not going to have a new in this race.
No news might be good news.
Hmm.
I'm definitely partial, though.
I mean, my last race had 3 news, so I cannot complain.
Yeah, 3 news is kind of ridiculous. We recently found out, we kind of thought that the odds of getting the new were always the same, but apparently you're much more likely to get a new entering from the world map than you are from Frog's Hollow.
Hmm. Do we have any specific numbers on that?
No, I don't think so.
Alright.
I think we do have numbers, but I don't know them.
Alright, that's fair. You're a Marshmallow Glen.
But I think Red Slash calculated a 4 new run at around like 1 in 780 or 1 in 800.
You know, I've seen more ridiculous odds being hit in D&D campaigns.
It's true. So lunchtime didn't swap it, or he did swap his controls at the beginning of the game, so he doesn't need to perform this skip. But he's gonna save and reload just to see, I guess.
You usually prefer not swapping your controls from the start, right?
Yeah, I leave default controls. I would do it, but my muscle memory is just, it's too strong.
That's fair.
Like, I feel like it'd probably take me about a week to get used to, but I'm just not willing to have a week of bad runs. Like, every battle you're supposed to hold the X button to attack quickly, I'd probably mess up.
I mean, maybe 1 week or just like 3 randomizers back to back.
Yeah, something like that. Oh god.
Alright. Got the most epic cutscene right now.
That should be something that we put in the randomizer, randomize controls.
Oh god, no. We got that for Super Metroid, a randomizer that randomizes your control scheme, including the D-pad, on every single room.
Oh my
So like
God.
just pressing right, you randomly pause or shoot or swap your items. It's it's something.
Alright, so Background Guy is through the cutscenes here, and he is into Magus's castle. Well, almost into Magus's castle.
How did lunchtime do that? Freezing the right there. Ah, right. Alright, one more encounter skip here. Getting past those bats nicely.
Easy. This part of the game always still gets me so hyped.
Yeah, I definitely remember this part from my first playthrough. It's just really, the atmosphere is perfect, knowing on what's coming up, and yet not knowing what's coming up.
Yeah, I remember using every single item I had to beat this when I played it casually. I died to Ozzy twice before I found out about the switches too.
So yeah, the start is pretty straightforward. Just gotta get to the end of both hallways. Can just straight up run through the NPCs if you would like to. And then we're gonna have a little talk to Ozzy.
Yeah, so this first fight's pretty easy, but it's also something that you need to pay attention to make sure that everything was set up correctly.
Yeah.
We saw the 19, but it's still good to pay attention to.
Yeah, usually if you see that 19 in the fight before that, you know that you're in the right RNG, but like seeing that Acid Rain 46 on Rock, it's like the absolute confirmation. You can just use the rocket roll to clear them out, and then we're really nicely set up for the next boss fight, which is pretty unique in the way it's set up. That Berserker on Frog is going to be very important.
Super important. And Berserker is probably one of, if not the best items in the game.
So yeah, that MP Buster on Frog. We're not really going to need any of these MP on Frog.
Yeah, so Flea is generally a very difficult boss here. Flea's got two pretty devastating AoE attacks plus an AoE counter, and we're not going to see any of it.
Yeah. Yeah, the really nice thing after this first attack here, we're basically going to have Frog auto attack with his Berserk for the rest of the fight, because Flea's speed and Frog speed are the same. And with Frog's Berserker, the Berserker, Frog just takes priority and basically overwrites every of Flea's attacks, so we're just gonna have, I think, 16 consecutive Frog attacks, and then we're just gonna do a few more attacks from Robo and Chrono, and then the fight is just over.
Yeah. Yeah, once Flea's down past half health, he's got a really good chance of countering with the stare attack, as long as you have all three party members alive.
You say that's a good chance, but I've actually never seen that once. I talked to Chrono Kirby about it, and they said it might only appear if there's like some reload before Magus Castle, but I've actually never seen it. I cannot really say there's a good chance.
Yeah, well, ideally you never want to see it, because it
right.
hits each party member for about 100. And funnily enough, it's not actually based on Chrono's attack power at all. It just only prompts if you have all three party members alive.
Oh, there you go. Flea is down.
For anyone who's just joining, Lunchtime had a bit of bad luck earlier in the run and ended up dying to two bosses. So he's just kind of waiting out the match, I believe.
Yeah. Hasn't forfeited yet. We don't know if Background Guy knows what happens. Either way, we do expect Background Guy to just give it his all. doing the final part of this.
Yeah, he's on pretty good pace here.
Um,
There hasn't really been any missteps from Background Guy at all.
I'm not familiar with that version of that fight, actually. I usually only know the method where you slash the last two skeletons. Not sure if I've ever seen someone attack with Robo there.
He's going to be going for a slightly older strat.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You will have to go with that.
Yeah, there's really not too much difference. You're still trying to shoot any blanks that aren't crits with Chrono and Robo. There's going to be a lot less slashing and a lot less rocket punches.
Is it still gonna... Well, I guess, I mean, with all the encounter skips after that, we're still gonna be alive for the same RNG for the remaining encounters.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily after the slash fight, you run away from 4 fights, and that pretty much normalizes your RNG.
Yeah.
You got a giant window at the end of the slash fight, and it doesn't even matter which switch you're on.
Right.
The main difference between like what Background Guy is doing and what Lunchtime would have done is there's a lot more waiting and just letting Frog crit more, because you're in a slightly different window. The Decedent fight, it's pretty particular, like even if you're like in the same window but on slightly different starting RNG values, the skeletons are pretty sensitive to that and the way they move and how they attack. Most enemies aren't, but they are in particular very sensitive to slight variations in your RNG.
Alright. Entering phase 2 of the slash fight.
Yeah, the new slash is much safer as well. Background Guy, I believe, is going to be going for the 8-frame mid-tonic. Yeah, and I don't think Robo is going to get healed at all here, actually. Yeah, there's a bunch of extra attacks this fight, whereas in the more modern fight, it's just like a whole bunch of Frog crits. It's probably like twice the amount of crits that Frog gets. Alright, so we should be seeing him moving quickly. Yep. Attacking on Frog.
Oh.
And this is where we need to do a very quick mid-tonic on Chrono. Yeah, he got it.
Oh,
you only have about 8 frames to hit it.
Okay. Yeah, the new script that I'm used to is definitely a lot more lenient there.
Yeah, everything is looking good here. We attack on Frog. Should see a spin cut on Robo in just a second. Or a counter on Robo, that's right.
Counter on Frog. Oh, that's
Finish it up. Yeah,
that's an interesting, yeah. I mean, obviously it won't, but the XP for Robo don't matter here.
No, it doesn't really matter that much. For 100%, I believe it doesn't really matter at all, because you're going to be using Robo a bunch later on. I know for the Magus fight, it can matter, but I think in this route, there's an extra fight with Robo coming up. I think they use Robo for the jugglers.
Yeah, right. Instead of swapping over tomorrow.
Yeah, we're gonna see a bunch of runaways. And running away, even if you are in like within a window of a fight, the fight always kind of normalizes to a certain value, and if no actions happen, then basically running away from a fight without having anything happen will give you a very precise and known RNG value. And with these 4 fights running away, it should just kind of funnel his RNG into probably one of 4 possible outcomes. But as long as you finish slash correctly, it should always be where you need it. It is important in this last fight that you not get attacked and you run away quick enough. Otherwise, that'll throw off the crit for Frog in the fight. And that'll be coming up in about a minute.
Got a lot of kind of movement intense rooms coming up here.
Yeah. But these guillotines will never be fatal if they hit you. That's pretty annoying. And they'll put you to 1 HP pretty quickly.
Yeah, and usually you just want to avoid taking any damage up until the Magus fight. If you do take any damage, you definitely want to put in an extra shelter that you otherwise would avoid.
Yeah. Shelterless Magus Castle was kind of a holy grail for a while, until it got finally figured out.
This screen is absolutely horrible.
Yeah, if you want to go for the quickest possible strats, this screen is very difficult.
Yeah. Playing it kind of safe there. Using the other characters to push this, the outlaw here kind of out of bounds. And just waiting it out for the police while they move through so that they don't start any encounters, but get through it nicely. And we got 3 encounters in this hallway. The first and the last one we have to fight, the second one we can thankfully run away from. And with the way the RNG is set up, we're not going to get hit here at all. We'll use the frog quits nicely. Actually, I'm not familiar with that strat.
Yeah, if you're ever in a pinch, Slurp Cut should one-shot the Outlaws if for some reason you made a mistake. Otherwise, you're kind of hoping for crits on Frog. I guess we are going to see the attempted swap into Luca. There we go.
I don't know, should still be on the right RNG with this runaway.
Oh yeah.
Second one, yeah.
Yeah, these fights are pretty lenient, especially with Luca in them. If you use Robo for this 3rd fight in this room, it can be scarily close.
So thankfully, Luca can one-shot these jugglers here. With a nice combo of frog crits and Chrono slashes. Get rid of these pretty nicely. And another X strike to just kind of overkill the last one.
Or not, the attack and the slash.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, as long as these guys don't do any fire attacks, it's not too big of a difference.
And again, kind of nice thing about the RNG manipulation is we really need the RNG manipulation for Magus just to guarantee that we get the right barriers. Unless you get like insanely lucky, which sometimes happens. The nice thing is here in the Aussie fight with the damage rolls on the four gears, we can basically just see that based on the damage rolls.
Note to everybody, don't attack Ozzy. Okay, so Chrono with the Magic Scarf on should be hitting for 119 on the last switch.
Yeah.
If it's a 118, we're late.
Next one. Yeah, next one should be a 125. There you go. Looking good. So we'll still have to take that shelter. There you go, yeah, he's on the right RNG. But won't have to do a reload. The reload for this is actually, the backup reload is actually pretty precise. You only have a 0.25 second window for that. Which is doable with a metronome, but definitely not the easiest backup load. There are others that have like a 1.5 second window. So really way less free and really nice if you manage to get the RNG all the way up to here.
Alright, here we go. The big man himself. Bubble, bubble, toil, and trouble. Summon Lavos on the double.
Lunchtime getting his revenge on the R series. Nice job.
Definitely helps when you're level 17. Alright, so this fight, ideally we're looking for Shadow and Lightning barriers, because that's the only magic that we have access to. We decided not to teach Frog any magic. And with RNG manipulation, we should have only those barriers.
Yeah. Really important. Obviously, can't deal any damage through water barriers. Rock doesn't have any magic yet. More importantly, that we don't hit any fire barriers, because not only didn't we have fire damage, but due to unequip not defending us from magic fire damage would also be pretty bad in terms of health wise.
Yeah, it hits for almost 100, if not more.
Which is, funny enough, way more than the dark antimatter hits, which is supposed to be Magus' strongest attack. But thanks to unequip and RNG minute, we don't have to worry about that. And it's really more important that this first part of the fight goes smoothly up until you hit the dark matter. After that, you can kind of just roll it. Don't have to follow the script as strictly anymore. Optimally, you're only going to see a single dark matter during this fight. Oh, we'll see how this fight goes.
Yeah, as long as you get through the barrier phase, the rest of the fight is relatively straightforward.
Very nice background art by Lunchtime there.
So we're in the second phase, and it's pretty much just a mash battle. You want to get your attacks off as quick as you can before he gets more than one dark matter off.
Yeah, just mash your slashes with Chrono, get the attacks in by Frog, and get your free rocket punches by Robo. Again, optimally you're only gonna get one dark matter, so don't really have to worry about health either. You can just smash through.
Rocket punch. Alright, can you get it off before the next dark matter? Go, 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 go.
Should be good. Yeah, getting some really good inputs there. That should be good enough. Yeah, there you go. Nicely done. And that's it. Just waiting for Magus to kneel down and
very solid time.
Yeah. GG to background guy. Yeah. Official SRL time 152 flat. Again, lunchtime fortunately forfeiting, but congrats to both runners.
Yeah, GG's all around. If either of the runners want to pop in for if any of the runners want to pop in for a quick word, I'm going to leave them with you. I'm going to take a quick 2 minutes before my race, and we'll see you guys on the flip side.
Yeah, good luck with your race, man.
Thank you.
So yeah, again, don't go anywhere because we have another race coming up right after this. Actually, winner's bracket final here. We got Fred Slash versus Drunken Draconian here, who just joined me on commentary. So that's going to be pretty hype, so stay here, don't miss out on anything. As far as lunchtime and background guy goes, those were actually the losers bracket quarterfinals here. Lunchtime, unfortunately, out of the tournament. Really great job making it into the top 6. Background guy is going to be heading forward into the losers bracket semifinals. We'll be facing off the winner of El Magus versus Ponk. Most likely El Magus. And the winner of that will already be in the losers finals, so that's going to be pretty cool. Really coming down to the last few matches here. Really not a lot more tournament to come. Yeah, I for my part am really looking forward to this. I will be staying here in commentary for the winners finals. With me on commentary here is actually if someone's going to join me. I'm not entirely sure who that will be, but it will be someone, and I'm looking forward to that, absolutely. But yeah, in the meantime, we're setting up for Frat Slash versus Drunken Draconian. Again, make sure to follow the runners here, background guy at lunchtime. And yeah, just waiting for the next race to start.